Shalom Akim, giving all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash, double honor to the apostles, elders of great millstone, salutations to you, sincere Akim out there of the hopeful elect. All right, hey man, this is November 23rd, 2023, here in the United States of America, which they celebrate Turkey Day, what they call Thanksgiving Day in this society. All right, you know, the truth is a dark truth behind Thanksgiving Day. All right, it's not only celebrated here in the United States of America, but Canada, okay, different countries, right? In Western society, okay, and looking it up, it's even celebrated in countries in different parts of the world. Unofficially, is celebrated in the Philippines, all right. Also celebrated in Liberia, okay, and also in Brazil. You know, to my surprise, you know, I didn't even know that they was on it like that in different parts of the world, all right? But, you know, mainly out here in the West, all right, and particularly North America and the United States of America and Canada, you know, they heavily into celebrating Thanksgiving Day, you know, which is basically is nothing but, you know, the history of it really goes back to the triumph of the Europeans colonizing the Americas, okay? You know, it's not what you're traditionally taught to believe. You know about pilgrims and Native Americans having a great feast, being brotherly with one another. Okay, in which a lot of these new generation, they don't even understand that history. Okay, but that's the typical shit that they teach in school. All right, which we were taught to believe. But you know, nowadays it's just I believe Black Friday kind of like overshadows so-called Thanksgiving Day. All right, you know, because Turkey Day is just a day where people just pretty much gather and have a feast, eat turkey, they eat ham, right? Collard greens with pork in it, smoked neck bones, and all kind of bullshit, man. Right? Cranberry sauce, right? Pumpkin pie and all that kind of shit. Peach cobbler, whatever. You know, the traditional uh, Thanksgiving Day dinner that Jakes celebrate out here in the rest of America. All right, but the real history goes back to the so-called white man colonizing the United States of America, not just the United States, but the whole North America. All right, Indian wars being fought, Manifest Destiny. Okay, prior to it becoming a national holiday, being celebrated on a national level, it actually used to be celebrated annually, different times of the year in different colonies that the so-called white man actually won, different wars that he was battling with the North American Indians with. All right, like Massachusetts colony, Jamestown colony in Virginia, different states, colonies which became states. All right, would celebrate Thanksgiving at different times of the year. Okay, until I believe it was President Lincoln who made it an official holiday back in the 1860s. It varied really. I think George Washington before Lincoln, declared it a holiday to be celebrated once out of the year. Okay, then I think the first time it was actually celebrated as a national holiday was certainly around the time of Abraham Lincoln. Okay, then I think Teddy Roosevelt declared it a federal holiday, to be celebrated on the third Thursday of the month, third or the fourth Thursday of the month, or whatever. All right, third Thursday of the month of November. Okay, so it's deep history, man, but it all really goes back to the so-called white man's treachery and unrighteous dealings with the North American Indians, which are the tribe of Gad of the nation of Israel. You Native Americans are actually Israelites. Okay, you're not indigenous Americans. You're not Native Americans. You're not Indians, okay? You are Israelites, all right? You come from one of the sons of Jacob, which makes you one of God's chosen people, all right? So, the so-called white man has hell to pay for what he has put you through, okay? Colonizing your land and reserving you to live in little pockets of North America called reservations, which are basically typical ghettos, all right? Okay, matter of fact, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 23, verse 10. It says, remove not the old landmark and enter not into the fields of the fatherless. Okay? And the so-called white man, they took hold of the Bible, right, and claimed it as their own, and also declared themselves Christians and God-fearing people. All right? But this is in the book of Proverbs, which is in the Old Testament. Okay? All right? Which is a commandment by the Lord. It says, remove not the old landmark. All right? Before the so-called white man came over here to America, the North American Indians already had this place established. They were already established here. This was their home. Okay? All right? But the so-called white man removed the Native Americans from their homelands, right? With the Indian Removal Act. President Andrew Jackson, who's basically highly praised in American culture, all right? Okay, he displaced plenty of Native American Indians, man, and pocketed them to live on reservations, okay, mainly in Indian Territory, which is the state of Oklahoma, all right? It says, and enter not into the fields of the fatherless, okay? Now, the Native Americans, which are the tribe of Gad of the nation of Israel, the whole nation of Israel became fatherless ever since we turned our backs on the Heavenly Father, okay? To be fatherless means what? Meaning your father's not dealing with you, man. Okay, and the Heavenly Father was not dealing with the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel after we disobeyed his commandments. All right? He didn't allow us prosperity, man. But in fact, we befell to our enemies, namely the so-called white man, and we've been under curses ever since. Okay? All right? So Proverbs 23 and 10, remove not the old landmark and enter not into the fields of the fatherless, which, the so-called white man is solely responsible for breaking that commandment. The book of John chapter 10 verse 10 reads, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill. Okay? And we know the history of how the so-called white man colonized the Americas. All right? He came in as a thief. Okay? It says, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill. All right? So he stole America. And in the process of stealing this land, he killed off and slaughtered an innumerable amount of North American Indians, man. All right, over the centuries of him actually landing over here to the east coast of America and spreading this, it's spreading like poisonous venom all throughout the Americas, heading all the way to the west. All right, okay. It says, the thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. All right? So the so-called white man, he stole, he killed, and he destroyed the North American Indians, right? And, the rest of the 12 tribes for that matter. Okay? Because it's not just the North American Indians. You had the Taino Indians, which are different tribes of the nation of Israel, like Ephraim, right? You had the Simeon out there in Hispaniola, which is you so-called Dominicans, all right? Okay, so the so-called white man with the conquistadors, which were Spaniards, they came over here and colonized certain islands in the Caribbean and Central America and South America. And then you had the French come over here to this side of the world as well, and you had the English, right? Before the English came over here, it was the Dutch. The Dutch came over here, and then you had the English come over here, right, in northeastern United States here in the Americas, and they basically stole, killed, and destroyed the natives, all right, which are Israelites. Okay, that's why we say the so-called white man has hell to pay for the things that he's done. Okay, you want to know the real history of Thanksgiving? Okay, one of the most infamous wars that were fought. Well, I can't even call it a war. It was basically a massacre. It was so one-sided. All right, was the Mesquite River massacre? All right, with the Pequot Indians up in Connecticut. Okay, how the so-called white man came over there and slaughtered the Native American population up there, man. Okay, all right. It says this is the book of Numbers, chapter 35, verse 33. It says, "So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land." All right. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land. Okay. So America's the country America, the United States of America, which is Babylon the Great, is totally defiled, man. All right, by the blood of North American Indians and which are the tribe of Gad, okay, and the other Israelite tribes, because eventually Judah, Benjamin, Levi, they all came over here as well to serve slavery, and they were unjustly murdered. All right, our fathers were unjustly murdered, man. Okay, by the so-called white man, which is the nation of Edom, according to the Bible. All right, it says, "So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land. And the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it." Okay, so America cannot be cleansed, right, unless the blood of the so-called white man is shed. Okay, because he's the one who, his ancestors are the ones who killed our fathers. Okay, and they have to pay for that, man. All right, and now that's why there's a breach in all these traditions, man. These American holidays and such, right? I just got off the phone with my cousin, and she was basically enlightening me to some news about the protesters downtown Manhattan basically disrupting the Thanksgiving Day parade. Okay, out there on 42nd Street, I guess that they protesting. You got the pro-Palestinians and such, and you got people in support of Israel. So it's a big protest going on out there, and it basically was blocking off the parade route. Okay, all right. The Thanksgiving Day Macy's parade is like is a big annual parade that they have here in New York City in America, which people watch it all over the country, right? On the news or on the media or whatever. All right. So this and a lot of things have been going on, not prior to the protests and all of that stuff to disrupt that parade. You done had incidences where it was high winds when them balloons were basically parading down, what is it, Fifth Avenue or whatever avenue that they hold the parade, 8th Avenue or whatever in Manhattan. But with high winds would sway those balloons and it just totally kill people, man. All right, those balloons, they're huge, they're heavy, and the winds be so high that some of those balloons sway into the crowds of people, the onlookers, and a lot of them, it's been incidents where people have died behind that. All right, signifying that the Lord is not with America. That's why the Lord said, "So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it." Okay, so the Lord is not with America. The Lord is not with America. So all of that celebrating Thanksgiving, which you so-called white people believe that you have to be thankful for, all right, the Lord is showing you that He's not with your cause. Okay, He's not with your cause. America's about to be judged. Okay, and when I say America's going to be judged, that means that you so-called white people are about to be judged for the crimes that your ancestors have done to God's chosen people, which is the nation of Israel, which is you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. So I'm going to end this video with this scripture right here, the book of Psalms, chapter 55, verse 20. It reads, "He has put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He has broken his covenant." All right. And all throughout history, we learned about, the so-called white man making treaties with the Native Americans. And somehow, all right, through all of these treaties that have been made, okay, the American Indians have been reduced to very little, while the so-called white man, has multiplied by masses and and continue to grow land-wise. All right, by stealing land. Okay, all right. So it shows you that these devils have broke those covenants, man, those treaties. All right, all right. And it's just it's unbearable proof, undeniable proof that this actually took place. Okay, but nobody knows where these scriptures are at, man, because people are not familiar with the Bible. A lot of people are biblically ignorant, so they don't know where these scriptures are actually at. There's no way that the so-called white man, that God could be dealing with the so-called white man when the so-called white man has broken all of God's laws, man. All right, so therefore he cannot be a godly person. All right, and he has a lot to answer for, man. All right. Psalms 55:21, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Okay, all of these treaties that the so-called white man drafted up, all right, and had Native Americans signed about how, they wasn't going to covet the land and they was going to share the land and be at peace with them. The so-called white man broke every last treaty, man. Every last treaty. Because he had ulterior motives to take over the Native Americans' lands. Okay? All right? And Native Americans have have showed nothing but endearment and peace unto the so-called white man since he came over here to this side of the world and taught him how to live over the land. If it wasn't for the Native Americans teaching the so-called white man how to grow crops and such here in the Americas, the so-called white man would have perished, man. He would have perished a long time ago, man. Okay? All right? Because, when the so-called white man came over here from Europe, they were bringing seeds and vegetations that are native to Europe and couldn't necessarily grow out here in the Americas. So they used to have a lot of crop failure. But the Native Americans showed them how to sow seed, how to live off the land here in America and what the right crops to grow and the time period which you're supposed to grow it. Okay? And what did the so-called white man do? Brought over a lot of diseases, man. A lot of domestic cattle that was native to Europe that the North American Indians weren't used to. Okay? And that's how a lot of disease spread, man. A lot of vermin that's not native to the Americas. The so-called white man brought them over here on their ships. Okay? And next thing you know, plagues and diseases broke forth and slaughtered and killed a lot of North American Indians. And then a lot of it was intentional, man. All right? Blankets laced with smallpox and such. All right? So the so-called white man is a damn devil, man. All right? And Thanksgiving this day is nothing but the celebration of how the so-called white man robbed, stole, and murdered to actually take America into their possession. Okay? See, that's just a brief history, man. And guess what? And the Lord He's judging these crackers, man. Thanksgiving Day, it ain't the same, man. It's not the same. The vibration of these holidays is not the same as it used to be, especially like when I was a kid, man. When I was a kid, it's way before I came into truth. I used to look forward to these holidays, Thanksgiving Day, families gathering together to eat, to feast, and this, that, and the third. We brought up into that traditional lies and shit that we was taught since we were little kids, man. But ever since that COVID pandemic lockdown, all right, that Thanksgiving shit ain't never been the same. Mostly none of these holy holidays have not been the same. All right, since the COVID lockdown, there wasn't a lot of in-house gatherings to celebrate feasts and such, man. Everybody was scared that, if I invite Uncle so-and-so over here, he's going to get me sick. If I invite Auntie Doris over here, she's going to get me sick. Them little kids is coughing. They got the sniffles. I don't want them little rats over here, them little bastards over here. They're going to get me sick. They're going to get grandma sick. She's up in age. So it wasn't none of that big gatherings and feasting, man. Okay? But that's just symbolic and showing you that the Lord He's done with America, man. America's finished. Okay? All right? So, keep that in mind, brothers. We only got a short time left in this society, man. We got to stay focused on the main goal, the main prize, all right? Which is worshiping Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah and doing it what He commands us to do, and stay diligent, man, and endure, all right? So I'm gonna end this on that note. Say Shalom, wa barakum to you, brothers. Lord willing, I'll see you in the next one. Shalom.